Hey YouTube, welcome to my channel. I'm Nikki from Genic Fashions, and in this video I will be upcycling a t-shirt. So this is a 4XL t-shirt, and I purchased the largest possible size that I could find with that print on it because I really liked the print and I wanted to make something with it. So I'm going to try to make this piece that you see sketched out here, and if I don't have enough fabric from the t-shirt, I will have to make edits along the way. Is that the right word? Probably not edits, but you know what I mean. All right, so if you are enjoying my tutorials and you want to see more like it, don't forget to press like, don't forget to subscribe, and hit the notification bell. So I folded my shirt and I wanted to make sure that this pattern is exactly folded right down the middle. And what I found pretty interesting is notice that the shirt is actually not folded in half exactly. That means the pattern was offset. So if you are using a print on a t-shirt that you want right in the middle of whatever you're making, do not rely on the fact that the print will be in the center of your shirt. All right, so in order to make sure that my print was perfectly centered, I actually poked a hole on one side and then I turned it over to make sure that it was coming out on the exact same part of the pattern on the other side. All right, so symmetry, super important to me. Okay, so what I also did off screen is I put this shirt on and I checked to see where or how far from the pattern I wanted the seam to be, and I got 3 inches. So about 3 inches out is where my seam will be, and that's a pretty safe estimate, but I'm going to go even a little bit further. And I am going to have this go 4 inches out. So what I'm going to be doing here is I am going to be cutting around this shape, and that will be the top, that will form the top part of my romper that I'm going to be making. As I create my piece, remember that we need enough fabric to form a whole outfit. So I'm not going to be cutting out further than that. I'm just going to stay in this shape here. And I'm planning to use every bit of fabric to make sure that we have enough to get enough coverage for this outfit. Now you may be wondering why I'm letting myself draw on the outside of the fabric. Well, this ink will ultimately disappear. That's one reason, but that's not good enough for me. Another reason is this will actually end up being a part of the seam allowance, and so it will ultimately be on the inside of the shirt. Here I'm making it an exact rectangle, no shape, but I plan to try it on and get the correct shape later on. Alright, so here is what I just cut out. And notice the pins going up and down the sides. This is where I'm going to put the seam, and I'm going to also overlock it to make it look nice and neat. And just so you see what this looks like at the front, nice and centered. Let me move this so you can see better. Nice and centered pattern. I did try it on to pin and to make sure that this is a perfect fit, and it is. So I'm going to go ahead, take this to the machine. So let me see. I am going to be using the top of the shirt, so from here to just below the neckline, in order to create a waistband. So I was hoping that those strips I just cut was long enough to wrap around the waistband, and it's just a little bit short. So that means I am going to have to salvage some more fabric from the top of this. Since the fabric wasn't long enough to create the entire waistband, I had to attach a little piece here. And instead of having side seams, I'm going to have a square in the back. I finished creating the waistband, and I actually used pins at the sides so I would know where my side seams need to hit. And now I am ready to pin the waistband to the top of the shirt. So I am going to leave my top part right side out. So notice it is right side out, just backwards. I'm going to leave that right side out, and I'm going to turn this inside out and upside down around the top part. Once my waistband is lined up properly, with the raw edges touching and right side to right side. I'm going to pin on the inside going all the way around. I'll be taking this to the machine and sewing it together with a zigzag stitch. And it's important that it's a zigzag stitch because you want it to be able to stretch a little bit in that direction. I actually really like how that waistband turned out. It looks pretty neat in the front, and if I turn it around in the back, it actually looks pretty interesting with the two seams here and here instead of side seams. So yay for running out of fabric. So this is the fabric that I have left at the bottom of the t-shirt. I also have the sleeves, but I'm going to be using that to make sleeves. So I'm going to really stretch this and try to make this go as far as possible. I don't want short shorts and I don't want tight shorts. So let's see how that works. So in order to see what I have to work with for each leg, I'm going to fold this in half. And remember, this is already doubled up because it is a t-shirt. So I am folding this in half, and this is what I have to work with for each leg. So I'll be patterning from my favorite pair of jeans. So I'm going to fold this in half and I'm going to set it up. I pinned out here and I pinned in here because those are the two areas that I will be sewing. I did not pin this, but I will cut with approximately an inch seam allowance around the whole thing, including here. So I'm going to separate the legs out, and in order to do that, I will be unpinning each pin, pinning the top two layers together, and you guessed it, pinning the two bottom layers together. And that will help me to separate my two legs from each other. And I'll be doing that, of course, all the way down here, in addition to these as well. So this is one leg pinned together, and I'm going to sew that leg together using a zigzag stitch at the machine. So here we have one leg that's inside out and another leg that is right side out. And just to make sure you are not confused about what you're looking at here, yes, it is intentional that I wanted to show that overlock stitch, which is actually the inside of the t-shirt. I wanted to show that on the outside of the shorts because I think it looks pretty cool. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the leg that is right side out and stick it into the leg that is inside out. And match the seam to seam here. And we're going to pin together where those legs would be joined. Okay, so take a look at how I pinned, and this is at just the first draft. So for the front, I pinned in because I know that I don't need all that excess fabric at the front of the shorts. And for the back, I actually pinned all the way at the edge because I probably do need that excess fabric. That is just some guesswork. I'm going to actually try this on and then adjust accordingly. I ended up actually adjusting these pins back even more. Definitely make sure not to skip that step when you're creating shorts because there is nothing uglier than that, bagginess in the front. So you want to make sure actually cut off that excess seam allowance before you even start to think about attaching the shorts to the waistband. So these are my two separate pieces, my top and my bottom. I am now going to attach the waistband of the shirt to the shorts to make it one romper. In order to do that, I'm going to leave my shorts right side out and I'm going to turn my shirt inside out and upside down over the shorts. So once that is done, we can go ahead and pin the waistband of the shirt to the shorts. And super important, I've messed this up before, super important that you have it centered properly, otherwise you're going to have a very twisty shorts and that's not cute. Now that I have this all pinned up, I'm going to take it to the machine and sew it with a zigzag stitch. Very important that you sew this with a zigzag stitch since it is going around the waist. Now I want to hem the top, but I did not leave a lot of room at the top because I needed the fabric for the waistband. So I will be doing a rolled hem, similar to a regular hem where you fold twice, but it is going to be a teeny tiny fold followed by another teeny tiny fold. So I'm basically just rolling. and I'll go ahead and pin that all the way around and take it to the sewing machine. Now it's time to make my sleeve, and so this is what the sleeve that I currently have looks like. I'm going to cut the hem off, even though I want a rectangular shape. So you're probably wondering, well, isn't that sleeve way too wide? And that is correct. But what I've done is I've cut 4 strips of elastic here. I'm going to be gathering elastic around the top of the sleeve and around the bottom of the sleeve. And of course, there's going to be 2 sleeves, which is why I need 4 strips of elastic. To figure out the length of the elastic I need, I put it around the 2 places that I am going to put my sleeve. Like, this is going to be where the bottom of the sleeve is, and I just wanted to make sure I had enough length, that it's nice and snug, not too tight but not too loose. And so I did that at the top of the sleeve and the bottom of the sleeve area. So I'm going to use this one and cut out the other. Alright, so I'm going to be hemming this so I can feed the elastic through. So I'm going to fold and then fold again. And notice my first fold is pretty small. I'm not sure if you can see that, but my next fold I'm going to make a lot bigger so that I can feed the elastic through. I'm going to go through and pin the hem at the top and the bottom of both sleeves. So here I have my hems on the top and the bottom of one of my sleeves, and I'm going to take that to the sewing machine and sew it with a straight stitch. But I am going to leave a small gap, maybe a little bit less than an inch, maybe about ½ an inch on the top and the bottom, that I'll be able to feed the elastic through. Now I'm going to take a safety pin and I will attach it to the elastic, and I'm going to use the safety pin to feed the elastic around the hem. Once the elastic is all the way through, I am going to sew the left and right side together. So I went over that stitching multiple times with the machine to make sure it's nice and solid, and once I've finished that, I am going to make sure that this is spread evenly around the elastic. I want it to be nice and gathered, but gathered evenly, and then I can close up that seam at the machine. I'm going to do the same thing for the bottom and for the other sleeve. So here is one of the sleeves that I just created, and I matched up the seam of the sleeve to the seam of the romper. And I'm going to go ahead and take this to the sewing machine and sew about 1 inch or 1.5 inches connecting the sleeve to the romper. If you've stuck with me up to this point, first of all, thank you. That must mean one of at least 2 things. Either you really want to see how this upcycle came out, or you really like t-shirt upcycles. Well, if it's the first thing and you really want to see how the upcycle came out, stay tuned, just a second. And if you really love t-shirt upcycles, just for you, I have included the playlist, so make sure to check those out. I have some really fun t-shirt upcycles that I'm sure you'll enjoy.